Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are happy you could join us for HansaMatrix Investor Webinar. Today we are hosted by HansaMatrix Chairman of the Management Board, Jānis Sams, Management Board Member and Finance Director Māris Macijevskis, and Chairman of the Management Board of Lightspace Technologies, Ilmārs Osmanis. We will start with the presentation on HansaMatrix and its associated companies Lightspace Technologies business update. We will also have a Q&A session. We have already received several questions from the investors, but if you would like to join the discussion and add your question, please use the Q&A section that you see on the bottom of your screen. Now, without further ado, I would like to hand over to the gentleman who will proceed with the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Dear participants, welcome, and it's a pleasure to host you at HansaMatrix Investor Webinar, where recent financial highlights of HansaMatrix business development at HansaMatrix, questions, as well as Lightspace Technologies business update will be presented. And we will start with financial highlights. So recently we published first quarter of 2022 preliminary revenue, which amounted to nearly 6 million euro and was growing 3% on year-on-year basis and 24% as compared to fourth quarter of 2021. Well, we can say that the first quarter of 2022 revenue performance is considered as very good, since seasonality effect on revenue for HansaMatrix is quite minimal, and the growth in revenue compared to last two quarters is significant and in double digits, and is achieved under continuing global semiconductor deficit. And also we can say that this revenue growth is explained by starting of manufacturing for new clients, mostly in industrial sector. Also, I should mention that year-on-year revenue growth in first quarter of 2022 is comparably small, which is determined by the fact that in first and second quarter of 2021, HansaMatrix was not yet significantly influenced by the global component deficit. Next, we also recently announced revenue guidance for 2022, indicating that the planned revenue for this year will be in the region from 24 to 26 million euros, with EBITDA margin from 13 to 15%. The key factors that will shape business volume development in 2022 will, from one side, be increased demand from both existing and new customers, especially in data networks and the industrial sector in Nordic and other EU countries. And on the other side, the company will need to further navigate the global component deficit to ensure the fulfillment of received manufacturing orders. It should be also mentioned that general business environment uncertainty due to Russia-Ukraine conflict is very high at the moment, but nevertheless we are still aiming to fulfill the forecasted revenue growth for 2022 in a range of year-on-year growth from 9 to 18%, which is planned to be achieved by manufacturing volumes from new clients and as well as active component sourcing. Here we would also like to inform that due to several strategic considerations, the recently announced reorganization process of HansaMatrix, in which Lightspace Technologies spin-off was planned, is postponed at the moment, and HansaMatrix will inform investors in a due course if the process will be relaunched. So thank you. Now I will give floor to CEO Jānis Sams on business development.
Yes, thank you, Māris. Actually, we can be proud that the last 12 months was quite successful in terms of attracting the new customers. And during this period of time, we have established a new cooperation with several companies, mainly Nordic. Due to the various reasons, I decided to present two of recent agreements we have been signing. And one is the large supplier of systems for Norwegian aquaculture market. So for the ones who knows, this segment is new for HansaMatrix and with the high potential to grow. What is covered by the agreement? So the HansaMatrix is going to provide the standard EMS process, so it means PCBA production. But what has been the real competitive advantage why this agreement was finally executed is actually the capability to do the mechanics, as the most of the enclosures are requiring the CNC machining. This is another new challenge for HansaMatrix, so that will require new competencies we are starting to work with now. So by attracting new engineers in this field, and it will require a kind of improvement of our CNC capabilities for a coming period of time. So there are some up to $500,000 investment planned for coming 3 years to welcome this new business in the full size. Where we are today with the project is that we are doing the first pilot runs. So we are going to deliver first 50 systems in coming 3 months from now. If we talk about the second successful agreement we signed recently with the wellness company, we were being very successful in terms of the timing of the transfer. So imagine if nowadays someone decided to do the electronic business in a new EMS company, it could require between 12 and 18 months to start the mass production from the day you start to discuss about that. And it's mainly due to the component availability and extremely long lead times. So with this customer and good cooperation, we have been able to achieve to do the industrial transfer in just 4 months from the date of the agreement. And the success criteria of that is that it was transferred as well all the material from the previous EMS company. So that gave us the chance to be in the mass production already now and start to receive the revenue from this new customer. In addition to that, we can be proud that we were being able to offer the new customer as well industrialization of the test system. So this what we call EMS Plus is start to become more and more advantage to get new customers that is looking for something more just PCBA production. Thank you. So the next are the questions.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. We will now proceed with the questions that were submitted earlier to HansaMatrix. The first question, what we need to do to thrive in this complex market environment?
Yes, thank you for the question. Continuing probably my presentation on the customers is that we need to have our pipeline of the customers full. What does it mean for HansaMatrix is that in average we have between 8 and 12 active customers all the time. So this is our capacity of new product implementation, and this is the way we compensate some kind of decrease in the volume of existing businesses. So to keep a full pipeline of the new customers.
Thank you. The second question that we have received, the target sales for 2022 are 9 up to 18% higher year-on-year basis, but Q1 sales are only 2.8% higher year-on-year. Are there lead time delays, which will turn sales much higher in the next quarters? Or does this mean that supply chain bottlenecks will restrict HansaMatrix to attain target?
First of all, I'll answer about the bottleneck, because today the HansaMatrix runs their manufacturing with approximately 60 to 70% of utilization. So even if you need to catch up on the executing the revenue or targeted revenue, there shouldn't be any manufacturing bottlenecks. But to answer the reason of not catching up in revenue as targeted is mainly coming from the delays with the new projects. Actually, if you look for the Q1, then actually the March is the only month where we were being able to achieve expected revenue. And if we look further, then at least the coming 3 months where we have the visibility on the material availability, we should catch up.
Thank you. Supply chain bottlenecks, potential neon and palladium supply crisis for semiconductors. What is the HansaMatrix worst case scenario in management eyes?
Sure, these are another difficulties in addition to the recent pandemic, and doesn't make our life much easier. But the close follow-up, this is something we can do in order to adapt the resource to the demand. This is number one. But if we specifically talk about the neon, then we know that the Ukraine is delivering between 45 to 50% of this gas worldwide, but not all chip production requires neon. So normally the neon used is mainly for the computer chips, and not every product that HansaMatrix produces requires such a chip. Therefore, we don't expect very significant decrease in demand and volumes because of those difficulties in the future. And in addition to that, if the war will continue, the big companies, global companies, will start to look for the alternative supplies, as to start the production of neon, you need between 9 months to 2 years to start neon production.
Thank you. We do have some other questions on the next slide, I assume. So let's continue with those. Can you list the segments, data networks, industrial, Internet of Things, etc., by margin value from the highest to lowest?
Like we showed already in the answer, is that it's a way how you build a strategy, and normally in each of those sectors you can have a higher margins and lower margins, but our strategy so far has been to target for the higher ones, and therefore we are not specifically identify one where the margin is higher. So it's more depends on the product from this business segment.
Thank you. Please explain what exactly HansaMatrix will be providing for Lightspace, and how much value will be added to HansaMatrix by being EMS provider to Lightspace. Will it be high margin segment?
To answer this question is that so far and now the HansaMatrix is providing the PC-based service to the Lightspace, but this is mainly for the prototype series and probably some zero series. But for the future, the HansaMatrix will be in fair competition with other EMS to offer the Lightspace the competitive service providing.
And talking about the spin-off, what does European Investment Bank say about it? If they convert the debt, they will lose the possibility to own Lightspace.
Yes, I will comment on this one. First of all, as we informed, the spin-off is currently postponed, but nevertheless, what we can say that from the shareholders' value perspective, the spin-off procedure would not be any different pre-spin-off and post-spin-off. It's just that for shareholders, they will have to follow up and manage two companies after the spin-off, if that would happen. Also on the debt conversion, EIB debt is actually not convertible. EIB has a warrant that they can convert to 10% of the shares, but this also doesn't make any difference because either way, if EIB chooses to stay with the warrant or convert, in any case, they would get ownership in a Lightspace part if it is spun off, because it's just that if it's warrant, then in both entities it will keep to be stay to be and be the warrant. If it's converted, then it's direct ownership. So.
Thank you. The next question goes the following: if Lightspace will be diluted to level where Ilmārs Osmanis and HansaMatrix will lose absolute control, there is a possibility that HansaMatrix will lose its deal to be EMS provider for Lightspace. What is your opinion on this?
Yes, we could expect that at some point this dilution can happen to the level where the control is lost. But what we can say that currently HansaMatrix ensures PCBA production in prototyping phase, and any further cooperation with industrial volumes will be determined in open competition with other EMS players. So it's not directly related to ownership.
Thank you. For about 5 years, your annual revenue is stuck in 24 million euros level. What are the plans for future growth?
Yes, thank you for the question. So sure, we know the reason for why we've been stuck in that. So, and of course, one is the COVID and another is the component availability. There has been several customers who decide to put on hold the industrial transfers because of those reasons. And now we need to recover by adding more and more customers from the Nordic countries to our portfolio. And this is the reason why we are strengthened our sales force. So mainly now we will see more and more customers coming from Norway, in addition to the ones we already have from those regions.
Thank you. How much of an impact has the war in Ukraine had on HansaMatrix, and what are your ways to mitigate the impact?
Let's say it's difficult to measure in some kind of figures, but after some calculations, after discussion with our key partners, we said that the impact should be less than 5%, because normally HansaMatrix supply chain does not have any direct suppliers from those regions, and neither as well direct customers there. Only the impact we see from the war in Ukraine, it could be coming from logistics, because some of the train deliveries are going through those countries, but since the war is there, most of those deliveries has been transferred to the ships and air deliveries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's now turn over to Lightspace Technologies, represented by the founder and CTO Ilmārs Osmanis now.
Hello everyone, and thank you for being in that big number. And I understand there is a lot of interest around Lightspace. So we're doing, first of all, very briefly, business development. We are right now releasing our first product to the market. It's a pilot series. Partner, we call it IG 1050 operating room headset, which includes medical grade post traceability and all necessary parameters to fit doctors' work. And we are starting to accept shipment orders with 6 to 8 weeks lead time on these products. Important to say that first batch has already been sold. We are kind of trying right now, catching up. We did have during, maybe to comment, we are planning to launch this a bit earlier this year, like in January, but due to all kind of logistic problems and Far East supply chain, also difficulties to it's been moved a bit with some delay. It's exactly finished now. We received finally all optical elements in good quality and starting to build products. Next slide, please. Funding news. Of course, funding of companies is very important in this period. And there been earlier the year an announcement, or late last year, about the company about organizing bridge round funding, and that bridge round, it was announcement that we attracted 800,000. That round being extended, and right now we extended this to 1.25 million, and this is we called pre-listing round. As you always know, pre-listing investors bet on good valuation through the listing process and good upside through this process. So this is case also here, and I can tell you, if anyone's still interested, pre-listing bridge round is still open until 30th of 2024 to additional investors. I would say that this is open not to retail ones, that could be high net individuals or smaller institutional investors. They're looking minimum 10K per participant. And terms are available under NDA, so these are not disclosed. Interested parties, you can please contact them at emailing invest@lightspace3d.com. So please further. Update on Lightspace listing process. That was big interest from number of people. Chosen trading platform was chosen Toronto Stock Exchange. Maybe a few comments here. There further are also been asked questions, and maybe I'm repeating here, but we have had very good references regarding listing on Toronto Stock Exchange for reasons that it's cheaper than any of US exchanges and much simpler regulation approvals. And there is a special exchange for kind of startup companies. However, we are not anymore startup. We are scale up, going into startup phase has completed. We are going into scale up phase now. So it's very beneficial for such companies. Listing process expected to take 7-8 months to complete listing. Of course, it's not precisely like that. It could be a month longer or maybe a month shorter, but this is an indicative average time to get listed. We're planning to raise minimum $10 million new capital or new equity. Usage of funds is business development, ramp up of manufacturing, and further development of technology. Of course, here is another thing. Due to our customer distribution, largest part of business currently in the United States. so it is also we need to become present in North America as well. Next slide, please. Okay, then we have quite a number of questions regarding the process and regarding all kind of evaluations. So I'll try to go through them and go into more detail maybe about questions. If you have any questions still, I think you can submit them during this period until we finish. And let's start with the ones that been submitted before webinar. First question: if I own HansaMatrix shares and when Lightspace Technologies will be listed Toronto Stock Exchange, then do I get free shares? Answer is probably no. After listing Lightspace Holding, who is now owning the 67% in Lightspace, which in return 100% owned by HansaMatrix or 90% owned by HansaMatrix, but having full control. 10% shares are not assigned to anyone. Will continue to hold actual Lightspace shares. Only possibility to get free shares, if I understand correctly, directly listed shares in Toronto, is to participate in current pre-listing bridge round. Any practical possibility on after, or you can buy them after we are listed. Of course, price will be different. That's hopefully understand. This, of course, is related to the spin-off, being spin-off or not being spin-off process completed. How much Lightspace will be diluted in this financing round and how much is raised? Generally, dilution levels depends on company listing valuation, and we cannot forecast it right now, and we will not maybe comment because that's not really, this is market deal in principle. We are planning to raise minimum $10 million new capital, and of course we expect after successful listing that the value of Lightspace shares also held by HansaMatrix will increase. Lightspace spin-off procedure, will it be completed before listing? HansaMatrix organization process currently is postponed, so also connected to spin-off, spin-off procedure is postponed. So this is only the answer I can give you right now. So let's go further. Yeah, why was Toronto Stock Exchange chosen? Of course, I did already comments in a slide, but it has sufficient, what we learned, it's a sufficient market interest and available liquidity for technological companies, less listing costs and simpler process in comparison to US-based exchanges. So that's kind of most points. Next question, will Lightspace spin-off procedure be completed before listing? Will there be SPAC deal? Can you elaborate on the method? How Heimic shareholders shares will be proportionally transferred to Lightspace? There are many questions within this one. Answering on the first one, about spin-off, not necessary, depends on HansaMatrix strategic decisions. Going on a SPAC deal. SPAC deal is one of options. However, there are other options that have been considered, for example, reverse merger. There are a few others you can go if you want to understand how get on a listing exchange. There's at least 5 methods how you can get listed in Toronto Exchange. You can go and read that. There are not, and answering on the last part of question, there are no plans of distributing Lightspace shares to HansaMatrix shareholders unless spin-off has been carried out. Next question, why private placement over IPO? Either procedure or high institutional investor demand? Are you confident to pursue IPO further? Can you specify particular institutional investors participating in a private placement? First of all, easy answer, it's easier procedure. For a given amount capital we need to attract. I cannot comment in details. We are confident. There's been already pre-study that there is sufficient interest. As been said by investment bankers, that we tick all the check boxes in most of the technological investors. Also, we cannot specify any particular investors. Yeah, and can you specify? And if anyone wants to participate, of course, it's possible. We can connect you to our investment bankers. However, I would encourage, if you want to get direct shares, look into this our pre-listing bridge round. That is a very attractive, very attractive way to get direct Lightspace shares. Details how to contact us early in presentation. Let's go further. Yes, next questions. What will be valuation Lightspace in a private placement? Namely, what is share for how much? If I would know that, I would be probably a billionaire. No, we cannot comment at this stage. It's not yet been happen. It's in a process, and at the end of process, all details will be known. But no, we cannot comment at this stage. In next question, in this step fundraising taken with strong confidence and further collaboration with PlanMed, Siemens Healthineers, and an industrial customer already contracted for AR supplies in 2022, or with the automotive sector. Yes, biggest medtech names in market representing around 90% of global business, each one having expressed interest to use Lightspace technology. We are direct contacts with at least 45 companies, and medtechs are the ones who want it now. Industrial market is not ready to use yet AR technology for like widely use it. So industrial market, in our opinion, will follow in 1-2 year delay. However, the Lightspace has biggest medtech names in its portfolio with commitment to start to develop applications based with Lightspace headset. Next question: for what exactly funds will be used for scale up, raw material, marketing, for technological development? Answer is yes for everything. Business development, scale up. And one of the important things, Lightspace has to become global, because I say largest market share is in the United States. And of course, technological development. Our technology is good, also potentially can be used for consumer products, which could come maybe in 3, 4, 5 year time. Meaning Lightspace is not really niche technology developer. We can contribute to very global market. Yeah, next please. Yeah, final question here and submitted earlier. How much of the impact has the war in Ukraine had on Lightspace, and what are your ways to mitigate the impact? First of all, my answer is following. It motivates to work harder. Secondly, it opens up new business opportunities. Thirdly, it makes global logistics supply chains more complex. And finally, what it really does, it makes European investment attraction almost impossible in Latvia. So that is mitigated by going to Toronto Stock Exchange, if I can answer very easily. It's earlier in presentation. So now that completes my presentation. I thank you for listening, and hope if you have further questions, you can submit them now.
Thank you, Ilmārs. Exciting times ahead.
Mm-hmm.
We indeed have received 2 questions online. The first one, I think you already answered during the presentation, and it goes the following. What is the current status and plans with Lightspace capital raise? So unless there's anything you would like to add, we can proceed with the next
Just very quick comment. Yeah, I really told about that. So we are changing plan to go to public listing in North America. And I mentioned also we are planning to attract at least $10 million in this listing process.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Lightspace technology was very promising, but we do not see significant interest from potential customers. Why?
I tried to kind of comment this during presentation. Well, let's say Lightspace, it's himself sees really significant interest from potential customers from medtech. All big names want to use, really no exceptions almost, want to use, we have performed validation projects with all big names during last year. And all of them are seeing advantages of Lightspace technology and significant advantages, and enabling and being enabling and confirming their interest. They have interest to use our technology. So, and currently we are supplying these pilot series products to all of them, each of them, so they can start to develop applications. So we see significant interest. However, we probably have not talked too much about that. We were waiting till we get product released. So that's my answer.
Thank you. And a request from one of the participants, could you please show again the email address where to request information about Lightspace pre-IPO round?
Yeah, presentation will be available. It's okay, perfect. It's invest@lightspace3d.com.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right. We're out of the questions. With this, we are ready to slowly close the session. A reminder that we have recorded the session, so the recording will soon be available online. Please follow HansaMatrix announcements to stay up to date with company's news. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Participants, thank you for joining.
Thank you for audience.
Thank you.
Everyone silently listen for us. Thanks. Have a great day.